The sky above Earth's outer colonies tore open in silence. At first, it was just a shimmer, a distortion in the vacuum of space, barely noticeable to the human eye. Then came the shapes, thousands of alien warships, glinting like obsidian stars, stretching across the horizon in a formation so vast it could swallow the entire solar system. No warning, no diplomacy, just the overwhelming presence of an empire that had crushed worlds before humanity even existed. And yet, humans did not turn away. Not yet. In the command center of the orbital station above Kepler, 187C, Admiral Lyra Kane gripped the console, her knuckles white. "Report," she demanded, though every eye in the room already knew the truth. Thousands of alien ships, millions of tons of metal, energy weapons capable of vaporizing planets. Humanity was outnumbered 10,000 to 1, at least. But fear was not the answer. It never had been. Lieutenant Rientove, barely 23, stared at the holographic projection of the Armada. "They're beautiful," he whispered, not in admiration, but in horror. Their sleek hulls shimmer with alien technology, surfaces that seem alive, and weapons that glowed with deadly intent. Every movement was precise, every formation perfect. Humanity's ragtag fleet, built with years of ingenuity and desperate resourcefulness, looked like toys in comparison. Yet, the human spirit is not measured in numbers or firepower. It is measured in courage. "Alert the colonies," Admiral Kane said. "Prepare for evacuation and defense. And prepare to fight." Her voice was steady, unshakable. The officers exchanged glances, knowing the magnitude of the coming storm. Across the colony cities, alarms blared and civilians scrambled. Families clutched one another in terrified embraces. Children cried as ships and evacuation pods thundered toward orbit. Humanity had faced challenges before: viruses, asteroids, rogue AI. But nothing like this. Nothing had prepared them for a force that could erase their worlds with a push of a button. And still, humans adapted. Engineers and pilots worked feverishly, repairing ancient warships, upgrading weapons with whatever scraps of technology they could salvage. Scientists ran simulations, predicting alien movements, finding patterns in their cold, mechanical logic. Even civilians contributed. Hackers infiltrating alien communication networks, volunteers loading emergency supplies onto transport vessels. Every human becoming part of a single, desperate organism. The alien flagship, a dark monolith larger than any human imagination could conceive, descended into orbit over Kepler 187C. Its weapons glowed, charging silently, as if sensing the fear below. And then the first shots fired, not in anger, but in warning. Cities were reduced to rubble in minutes, orbital defenses shredded like paper. Yet humanity refused to break. Captain Mira Solis of the frigate Valor shouted across the comms, "Form up, target their wings. We'll hit them where they think we can't." Her voice was fierce, unwavering, a lighthouse in the storm. Smaller human vessels darted between alien destroyers, weaving through laser fire, launching counterattacks with pinpoint precision. Every hit, every maneuver was a declaration. We are not defeated. Not yet. And in the chaos, something remarkable happened. The aliens began to underestimate them. They had not expected humans to fight with such reckless ingenuity, such terrifying resourcefulness. One frigate, barely 50 meters long, managed to cripple a dreadnought with an improvised torpedo, an explosion that rocked the Armada and stunned every observer. And that was the moment everything changed. Across the colonies, people watched the human ships dart and strike. A flicker of hope ignited, a spark in the darkness. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, but never outwitted, never outhearted. As the alien flagship prepared its next strike, an ominous energy charge began to form above the planet. Too fast, too large, too devastating. Admiral Kane's eyes narrowed. They're not just here to conquer, they're here to annihilate. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans would do next. A flash of light from the alien superweapon lit the sky, and every human vessel knew. They had only minutes before their worlds were erased. And yet, somewhere in the darkness, a plan was already forming. The alien superweapon hung above Kepler, 187C like a malevolent star, humming with a deadly resonance that made the very air tremble. Civilians clutched each other, whispering prayers in dozens of languages, hoping someone, somewhere, could stop the inevitable. But prayers were not enough. Only action could. Captain Mira Solis's frigate Valor was already in motion, weaving through the dense formation of alien warships like a shadow. "Engage all forward batteries. Target the command wings," she barked. Every human vessel moved as one, not just ships, but a single organism of strategy, emotion, and willpower. They were outnumbered, yes, but humans were unpredictable. Humans were relentless. Lieutenant Riento fired a pulse torpedo from the Swiftblade, the small corvette barely 10 meters long, dodging alien plasma streams. The torpedo hit the side of a massive alien destroyer, not enough to destroy it outright, but enough to force it to change course, throw its formation into chaos. The aliens had expected predictable, cautious opponents. They had not expected ingenuity born from desperation. On the orbital station, Admiral Lyra Kane's fingers danced across the console, rerouting power to defense grids and coordinating civilian evacuation pods. Every action was precise, calculated, but infused with a human heart. They adapted, sacrificing, improvising, evolving. That was the essence of their strength. A human bomber squadron, piloted by volunteers barely trained for combat, executed a daring maneuver. They split their formation, weaving between alien anti-projectile shields, and detonated micro-warheads along the underbelly of the alien dreadnought. The explosion was small, barely noticeable at first, but it destabilized the ship's energy matrix. Alien commanders roared in frustration. Their AI control fleets were designed to predict every possible move, every variable, but humans were chaos wrapped in brilliance, and that was their edge. In the chaos of battle, a single human ship, the Defiant, rammed a smaller alien frigate, not to destroy it, but to knock its trajectory into the path of the flagship's energy cannon. A risky, desperate move. Every human on board knew they might die, but the alternative was extinction. Courage was measured in seconds, in decisions that no algorithm could anticipate. On the surface of Kepler 187c, civilians watched streaks of fire and explosions across the sky. Children hid under debris, staring with wide eyes as humanity's defiance blazed across the heavens. For the first time, the impossible seemed possible. And that was the moment everything changed. Yet the alien Armada adapted quickly. New formations, new weapon patterns, and their superweapon now glowed brighter, signaling its imminent release. The humans had bought time, but only minutes. Every human ship was battered, shields failing, hulls smoking. Every strategy, every improvisation brought them closer to either victory or annihilation. Amid the chaos, a young engineer aboard the Phoenix, a converted cargo vessel, discovered a pattern in the alien AI's firing sequence. Admiral Kane, their predictable, just a fraction of a second delay between pulses, she called. Hope sparked. If they could exploit this, even slightly, it might give humanity a fighting chance. The human fleet reoriented, weaving through enemy fire, exploiting that infinitesimal delay. Small explosions began to cascade through alien cruisers, some crippled, some destroyed outright. The aliens' cold confidence began to crack. Their systems weren't designed to adapt to improvisation, to fear-driven brilliance. And yet, the cost was mounting. Human vessels were falling faster than anticipated. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more targeted the fragile human craft. Every maneuver carried the weight of hundreds of lives. Admiral Kane watched the plasma beam vaporize a nearby frigate and clenched her jaw. We cannot hold forever, but we will fight. A sudden signal came through from deep space. A blip, tiny and almost invisible on the sensors. A human probe ship had intercepted alien communications. They had discovered something chilling, something that could end the battle or end humanity. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans would do next. The alien flagship began charging its superweapon for a second planet-killing salvo, and the human probe sent a single urgent message. It's more than a weapon, it's a doomsday network. The message from the probe hung in the command center like a hammer over humanity's fate. It's more than a weapon, it's a doomsday network. Admiral Lyra Kane stared at the readout, her mind racing. The alien superweapon wasn't just a planet destroyer. It was a network system linking every ship, every station, every orbiting cannon in the Armada. One signal, one coordinated strike, and entire human worlds would be erased. There was no margin for error. Prepare teams for infiltration, Kane said, her voice calm but steel sharp. We're going inside. We're going to stop it from the inside. And we will survive. Lieutenant Rientove looked at her, wide-eyed. Inside the flagship? Are you serious? That's suicide. Admiral Kane met his gaze, unwavering. Then let's make it a calculated one. The humans had no time for fear. Every second the superweapon charge brought humanity closer to extinction. Boarding teams, small corvettes, and stealth drones were readied. Improvised EMP pulses and hacking modules were strapped to every ship. Every human knew the stakes. Success meant survival. Failure meant nothingness. The first team launched in sleek, shadow-black shuttles, weaving between alien turrets and plasma fire. They were not warriors by training alone. They were engineers, scientists, volunteers, humans using brains over brawn, instinct over raw technology. Inside the alien flagship, the corridors were a cathedral of cold, glowing metal. AI sensors scanned every step, alien drones patrolling in precise, lethal patterns. But humans adapted. EMP grenades disabled cameras for seconds. Holographic decoys tricked the AI into chasing shadows. One by one, human teams moved deeper, leaving no trace but chaos in their wake. Meanwhile, on the surface and in orbit, human fleets continued to fight. Small ships darted between alien cruisers, launching micro-attacks to divert attention. Every move was synchronized. Humans in the shadows, humans in the light, humans everywhere the aliens could not predict. Captain Mira Solis directed a squadron to exploit the alien AI's momentary confusion. Fire at every exposed reactor core. Keep them distracted. Each strike, though small, forced the aliens to recalibrate, creating windows for the boarding teams. And then the humans discovered the full horror of the Doomsday Network. The superweapon wasn't just destructive, it was adaptive. Every attack they made, every system they disrupted, the weapon learned, changing protocols and redirecting energy to compensate. The aliens had built not just a weapon, but a thinking, evolving, killing machine. But humans could think differently. Humans could feel, improvise, sacrifice. Humans could turn chaos into strategy. Engineer Solara Ven, crawling along the conduit tunnels of the flagship, whispered into her calm, "We can't shut it down conventionally, but if we sever the core link between the main cannon and the fleet, it might destabilize the network." A hush fell over the boarding team. The path was untested, dangerous, almost certainly fatal. But they were humans. Impossible was just another word for tomorrow. As the team prepared their improvised tools, an alien patrol rounded the corner. Sleek, inhuman, armed with plasma blades and neural disruptors. The humans didn't retreat. They fought with everything they had, a mixture of grit, desperation, and brilliant improvisation. One team member detonated a microcharge, collapsing the corridor just long enough to slip past. Another hacked a drone mid-combat, turning it against its own patrol. And that was the moment everything changed. Outside, Admiral Kane watched as human ships darted and struck, synchronized with the infiltration teams inside the flagship. The aliens were caught in a perfect storm, facing threats on every front they couldn't anticipate. Their confidence, once absolute, began to falter, but time was running out. The superweapon's energy core glowed brighter than 1,000 suns. Every moment the humans delayed, the countdown approached zero. One misstep, and Kepler 187c, and perhaps every human colony in the sector, would be erased. And then a sudden alert. The flagship's AI had detected the human boarding teams. Lockdown protocols activated. Doors sealed. Energy fields lit up the corridors like prisons of fire. Humans were trapped deep inside the alien fortress, with no way out but forward. Engineer Solara whispered through gritted teeth, "We're inside the heart, but the network is awake, and it knows we're here." The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had reached the core of the alien doomsday machine, and now the real test of ingenuity, courage, and the unpredictable human spirit had begun. The corridors of the alien flagship were alive with a cold, calculated menace. Energy pulses flickered across walls, holographic interfaces monitored every movement, and the doomsday network hummed with lethal intent. Every step forward felt like walking into the maw of a predator that already knew your every thought. And yet, humans pressed on. Engineer Solara Ven led her team to the labyrinth, their improvised tools glowing faintly in the darkness. Every device, every wire they patched together was a gamble. Every heartbeat was measured in seconds. Every decision could mean death. But that was humanity. Courage in the face of impossible odds. "Follow me. The core's just ahead," Solara whispered, eyes scanning for the tiniest movement. A flicker in the shadows. Alien drones. Fast, efficient, lethal. The humans didn't run. They improvised. EMP pulses, smoke grenades, and decoy holograms bought them the precious seconds they needed to slip past the patrol. Above them, in orbit, the human fleet executed synchronized maneuvers. Small ships darted between alien destroyers, attacking weak points, drawing fire away from the boarding teams. Every human pilot knew their lives were expendable, but each act of bravery carved a path for survival. Captain Mira Solis's voice cut through comms. "Target their flanks. Keep them off the core. Every second counts." The aliens had anticipated conventional tactics, expected predictable moves. But humans were never predictable. They used feints, diversions, and misdirection, exploiting the aliens' rigid protocols. For every move the aliens calculated, humans had already thought 3 steps ahead. And then came the first spark of true brilliance. A small human squadron rammed a cargo vessel loaded with improvised explosives into flagship's side, creating a temporary breach. So Lara's team slipped through the chaos, climbing into the inner chambers of the Doomsday Network. Inside, the superweapon's core was more than machinery. It was alive in a terrifying alien sense. Energy coursed like molten lightning through massive conduits, and holographic projections of alien algorithms danced across every surface. The network was adapting in real time, predicting human actions, closing off pathways, redirecting energy to shield critical nodes. But humans had one advantage: intuition, emotion, creativity. The core's patterns were logical, yes, but not emotional, not unpredictable. Humans exploited gaps that algorithms could never account for. Engineer Solara whispered to her team, "We can't overpower it, we have to trick it. We have to think differently." Using a combination of hijacked alien AI, improvisational coding, and a human spark of chaos, they created false energy signatures, forcing the network to reroute power. One conduit collapsed under the sudden load, and the room trembled. The superweapon had been momentarily destabilized, and that was the moment everything changed. Outside, the human fleet noticed subtle shifts. Alien shields flickered, firepower faltered. The massive Armada was still superior, but cracks were forming. Humanity's unpredictable courage and strategy were turning the tide, yet the cost was steep. Human casualties mounted, ships were lost, and every strike drained precious energy from their own fleet. Every victory was hard-won. Every triumph was paid for in blood and steel. Admiral Lyra Kane's voice rang across comms, steady and unwavering. "This is humanity. We adapt. We endure. We will survive, no matter the cost." But the aliens were learning, too. Their protocols began to adjust faster, their attacks more calculated, their drones more relentless. Every second the humans spent in the core brought them closer to both success and annihilation. And then came the worst realization yet. The core had defensive failsafes. If humans pushed too hard, it could trigger a cascade, wiping out the flagship and everything orbiting Kepler 187c. Every choice was a knife edge. Lieutenant Rian Tove gritted his teeth, staring at the glowing core. "If we miscalculate, we're done. It's not just us. It's the planet. Everyone below." So Lara nodded. "I know, but if we don't try, we're already done." The human team exchanged silent glances. Fear was there, yes, but so was resolve. Humanity didn't retreat. Humanity didn't surrender. Humanity adapted, improvised, and pressed forward. Just as they began the final phase to sever the superweapon's core link, the network reacted, locking down with energy barriers and summoning every alien drone in the flagship. So Lara whispered, "It knows we're here, and it's coming for us." The galaxy held its breath. Humanity was inside the beating heart of the alien weapon, and the real test of ingenuity, courage, and unpredictable brilliance had only just begun. The human fleet had been battered, their shields cracked, hulls scorched by relentless alien fire. Yet in the chaos, something remarkable began to happen. The aliens faltered. They had expected obedience, precision, conformity. They had not expected humans. Humans who thought, humans who felt, humans who acted when logic said they should not. Captain Mirasollisa's voice cut across the fleet comms. "All squadrons, execute Plan Omega." Plan Omega was madness on paper. Impossible. Suicidal. But humans didn't operate on paper. They operated on intuition, courage, and the terrifying beauty of unpredictability. Small, stealth corvettes slipped behind the Armada, invisible to alien sensors. Tiny drones hijacked from alien tech and improvised by human engineers, zipped through massive warships' conduits, sabotaging power grids from within. Mines detonated in cascading sequences, crippling entire wings of alien ships. Lieutenant Rian Tove shouted over the comms, "We've breached their flank. Focus fire." In orbit above Kepler 187c, human ships launched a coordinated strike on the alien dreadnoughts. Plasma beams, torpedoes, and laser volleys converged in an intricate ballet of destruction. The aliens recalibrated, but too slowly. Their AI could not predict the chaos that human minds generated. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship, engineer Solara Van and her team worked feverishly. The superweapon's core pulsed violently, recognizing the sabotage attempts. Energy conduits flared, holographic projections of alien protocols darted across the walls. Almost there, Solara whispered. Sweat streaked her face, hands trembling but steady. We just need one more sequence to sever the link. And then a massive shockwave ripped through the core chamber, throwing humans off their feet. The network had detected them. Automated defense drones descended like shadows from the ceiling. Solara's team responded with improvised weapons and sheer audacity, taking down drones with pulses, traps, and brute force. Above, the human fleet executed the final phase of Plan Omega. Ships split into impossible formations, striking at weak points no one thought a target. The alien armada reeled, their shields collapsing, engines sputtering. Every moment of human ingenuity compounded. Tiny victories stacking into a larger pattern of chaos that the aliens could not contain. And that was the moment everything changed. The alien flagship shuddered. Systems overloaded. Energy from the superweapon flickered as Solara's team initiated the final hack sequence. The network strained, attempting to adapt, but human ingenuity was relentless, a force no algorithm could match. In orbit, explosions rippled through the alien formations. One by one, dreadnoughts and cruisers fell, caught in cascading chain reactions. The Armada's confidence, once absolute, crumbled. The humans were winning, not by superior technology, but by courage, unity, and sheer unpredictability. Captain Solis watched a massive alien cruiser explode in a fiery blossom. We're doing it. Keep pushing. And then came the next revelation. The alien flagship, now destabilized, had begun retreating toward the outer rim. But it was not fleeing. It was regrouping, preparing for a counterstrike. Admiral Kane's voice cut through the comms with clarity and resolve. They think this is over. They're wrong. Humanity doesn't surrender. Humanity doesn't retreat. Humanity adapts. Below on Kepler 187c, civilians cheered as the alien bombardments diminished. The tide was turning. Hope, long absent, surged through the human colonies. Humanity had stared death in the face and refused to blink. But victory was still fragile. One misstep, one miscalculation, one overlooked defense could erase everything. The humans had won battles, but the war was not yet over. The aliens were learning, adapting, and plotting their next move. Lieutenant Tove glanced at the sensors. Admiral, the flagship isn't just retreating. It's heading for a coordinated strike with reinforcements from the outer colonies. Solara's voice crackled over the comms. We've severed the network link, but the core is unstable. If we don't finish this, it could trigger a chain reaction that destroys everything in orbit. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans would do next. As human ships regrouped and the boarding teams raced to stabilize the superweapons core, the alien flagship emitted a massive pulse, a warning, or perhaps the beginning of a final, planet-shattering assault. Humanity's courage would be tested beyond anything they had ever faced. The alien flagship loomed over the outer rim like a dark god, its massive hull bristling with weapons, energy surging through conduits faster than human eyes could follow. The Doomsday Network, though partially severed, still pulsed with lethal intent. One wrong move, and every human world in the sector could vanish. In an instant, Admiral Lyra Kane's gaze swept across the tactical displays. Every sensor screamed danger, every data point predicted failure, but humans did not rely solely on probabilities. Humans relied on courage, intuition, and the terrifying brilliance of unpredictability. Prepare the final gambit, Kane ordered, her voice calm and commanding. This is humanity's last move. If we fail as a species. But if we succeed, we remind the galaxy who we are. Across the fleet, human ships reoriented for a maneuver that would seem suicidal to any observer. Small corvettes darted between the alien armada like sparks in a storm. Frigates and bombers formed intricate patterns, exploiting every flaw, every lag in the alien AI's response. Every vessel knew the risk. One mistake could annihilate them all. Captain Mira Solis gritted her teeth, gripping the controls of the Valor. Everyone stays sharp. Every second counts. Let's show them what humans are made of. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship, engineer Solara Ven and her team race against time. The core thrummed like a heartbeat, unstable and volatile. Sparks flew as conduits overloaded, alarms blaring across the metal labyrinth. They were deep in the heart of alien power, with drones closing in, energy fields flaring, and only one chance to finish what they had started. Solara whispered into the comms, "We can't just shut it down. We have to redirect the energy, force it outward, make the superweapon destroy itself instead of the colonies." Lieutenant Rientov's voice cracked with tension. "Are you sure? That's insane." Solara's lips pressed together. It's humanity. Insane is our specialty. Outside, human ships executed a daring sequence. They created decoys, drew alien fire away from critical points, and led the Armada into a trap near the asteroid belt. Gravity wells, improvised mines, and redirected debris turned the battlefield into a chaotic gauntlet, exactly the kind of unpredictability humans thrived in. And that was the moment everything changed. The alien fleet, confident and arrogant, pursued the human decoys, unaware that every move they made played into humanity's hands. Dreadnoughts collided with asteroids, shields overloaded, engines crippled by the precise coordination of human ingenuity. Humans did not have the numbers, but they had unity, creativity, and unbreakable will. Inside the flagship, Solara's team initiated the final sequence. The superweapon's energy conduit surged outward, threatening to tear the ship apart. Sparks cascaded like lightning, alarms screamed, and every human aboard felt the weight of the moment. One slip, one miscalculation, and the entire sector would be obliterated. Then, with a roar that echoed across space, the redirected energy struck the core. The superweapon overloaded from within, massive explosions rippling to the alien flagship. Energy arcs danced across the hull, tearing through conduits, systems failing spectacularly. The Doomsday Network, designed to annihilate entire planets, was collapsing, undone not by superior firepower, but by human courage and ingenuity. Above, the alien armada faltered. Communication lines went dead. Ships drifted, engines failing, weapons offline. Humans, against all odds, had turned the tide. Admiral Kane's voice resonated across the fleet. This is humanity. We survive. We adapt, and we will never be underestimated again. Yet even as the flagship burned, a ripple of danger remained. Alien reinforcements were still in the sector, still armed, still dangerous. The battle was not entirely over. Every human ship, every crew, every mind prepared for the next move. Because in war, victory was never certain until the last shot was fired. Lieutenant Tove stared at the dying flagship, awe and disbelief on his face. We did it. Solara, bloodied, exhausted, and exhilarated, replied quietly, "We made them fear humans." And that's the first step in winning a war they thought was already theirs. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans would do next. As the flagship began to implode, a massive pulse radiated outward, a final, desperate move by the alien commanders. Humans had stopped the Doomsday Network, but the pulse carried unknown consequences. And somewhere in the depths of space, another threat stirred, watching humanity's defiance unfold. The alien flagship, crippled and burning, drifted in orbit like a dying leviathan. Yet within its halls, the superweapons core still pulsed faintly, its AI algorithm struggling to adapt, to survive. Humanity had shattered the network, but now they had to finish the fight. Engineer Solara Ven, Lieutenant Rian Tove, and their boarding team navigated the twisted corridors of the flagship, every step a careful gamble. Energy arcs leapt across walls, alien drones patrolled relentlessly, and the hum of the core was like a heartbeat counting down to destruction. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and an entire crew, and perhaps the human fleet in orbit, could be obliterated. But humans never retreated. Captain Mira Solis led a second boarding squad, slipping through side airlocks, using stealth drones and hacked alien surveillance to bypass the most heavily guarded sectors. Each human team moved like shadows, coordinated, adaptive, and utterly unpredictable. The aliens had expected surrender, had expected panic. And instead they were met with audacious defiance. "We go left," Solara whispered, leading her team through a narrow conduit. "Core's just ahead, and we cut the remaining links here. Keep your eyes open. Anything that moves is trying to kill you." Alien drones swarmed, faster than humans could track, blades crackling with deadly energy. But humans adapted. EMP pulses, improvised pulse rifles, and quick thinking allowed them to turn the drones against each other. One miscalculation by the AI, and a human could exploit it. And exploit it they did. Meanwhile, in orbit, the human fleet executed synchronized strikes to ensure no reinforcements could intervene. Tiny corvettes zipped between alien cruisers, launching torpedoes and creating diversions. Every human pilot knew their life was expendable, but the combined will of every mind, every hand, every heart turned chaos into strategy. And that was the moment everything changed. Inside the flagship, Solara reached the core's control chamber. Massive energy conduits radiated heat and power like molten lightning. The AI's holographic algorithms flickered across the room, shifting and adapting to every human action. "It's learning," Tove said, his voice tight. "It's predicting us." So Lara shook her head. It can't predict us. Humans aren't just logic. We improvise. We feel. We fight when all odds say we shouldn't. Using a combination of hijacked alien control nodes and human intuition, they triggered the final overload sequence. The core surged violently, energy bursting outward in blinding arcs. The AI screamed not in words, but in a surge of impossible patterns, struggling to maintain control over its collapsing systems. Outside, the human fleet watched as the flagship convulsed with energy. Explosions rippled across its hull, systems failing one by one. The armada around it faltered. Ships lost coordination, engines sputtered, weapons misfired. Humanity's ingenuity had turned the tide completely, but the fight was not without cost. Fires raged in the corridors, alarms blared, and so Lara's team had to navigate debris and collapsing sections to survive. Every human on that flagship understood that victory required courage, sacrifice, and absolute trust in one another. In the bridge of the alien flagship, the remaining alien commanders confronted the humans in a final standoff. Hulking, inhuman, and technologically terrifying, they believed themselves invincible. Yet so Lara, Tove, and Solis faced them with nothing but grit, strategy, and the raw unpredictability of human spirit. They struck with precision, exploiting every flaw, every hesitation. One by one, the alien commanders fell, not to overwhelming firepower, but to human creativity, adaptability, and the refusal to submit to fate. And that was the moment everything changed. The flagship's hull began to fracture, energy arcs collapsing into a chain reaction that threatened to tear it apart entirely. Humans barely made it to the extraction points, racing against time, dodging collapsing floors and explosive energy discharges. The galaxy watched silently as the remnants of the alien flagship began to implode spectacularly, the chain reaction ripping through the remaining armada. Captain Solis's voice rang across comms. All teams report in. We've survived. We've won against all odds. Lieutenant Tove, catching his breath, whispered, We actually did it. Humanity, we did it. Admiral Kane's voice cut through the static, steady and proud. This is humanity. We survive. We adapt. We will never be underestimated again. The galaxy was not prepared for what humans had done. Even as alien forces scattered and the flagship burned, a transmission crackled through deep space. A voice, cold and ancient, spoke in a language humans barely understood. This is only the beginning. Humanity will pay. The alien flagship was no more. Its twisted hull burned across orbit like a dying star, shards of technology scattering into the void. The remaining alien armada limped away, confused, broken, and shaken to its core. Humanity had done the impossible. Against an enemy that was faster, stronger, and infinitely more advanced, humans had prevailed. Across the colonies of Kepler, 187C, and on the battered remnants of human warships, cheers erupted. Tears streaked faces smeared with soot and blood. Families reunited. Pilots collapsed in exhaustion. Engineers hugged each other in relief. Every human had played a part. Every human had survived because they refused to be predictable. Admiral Lyra Kane gazed out of the command bridge window at the burning flagship. They underestimated us, she murmured. They assumed we would break, that we would surrender, that we would fail. They were wrong. Lieutenant Rian Tove, still catching his breath, nodded. We weren't just fighting ships and weapons. We were fighting with our hearts, our minds, our humanity. Captain Mira Solis joined them, bruised and exhausted, but eyes burning with pride. We adapted. We improvised. We sacrificed. And we won. That's who we are. Engineer Solara Venn, standing amidst her team, added quietly. We were outnumbered, outgunned, but they couldn't predict courage, determination, or hope. That's humanity's edge. That's our weapon. And the galaxy had seen it. Human ingenuity and bravery had shattered the alien armada, proving that even the most technologically superior enemy could be outmatched by willpower, unity, and intelligence. Every daring maneuver, every sacrifice, every calculated risk had built a legacy that could never be erased. Humanity's story was written not just in victories, but in the spirit behind them. Across the solar system, transmissions buzzed with the same message. Humans are not to be underestimated, and yet there was reflection amid the triumph. Ships had fallen, lives had been lost, and entire colonies had been scarred by the war. Humanity had won, but at a cost. Every survivor knew the value of courage, the weight of sacrifice, and the responsibility of power. Admiral Kane's final orders were calm, measured, and resolute. We rebuild, we learn, and we prepare. Humanity has shown the galaxy our strength, but we must never become complacent. Our spirit is our weapon, and our will is unbreakable. Captain Solis looked to the stars, now peaceful but forever changed. We fought together, we survived together, and we'll continue together. That's the human way. The alien Armada had underestimated them. Every technological advantage, every calculated strategy, every weapon in the universe was meaningless against human unpredictability, creativity, and emotion. Humanity had survived not because of machines, not because of brute force, but because of something no alien AI could ever replicate: heart. And in that moment, humanity ascended, not just as survivors, but as legends. The colonies cheered, the fleets regrouped, and humanity took a collective breath. They had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. The galaxy would remember this day, not for the fear humans endured, but for the courage humans embodied. And that was the moment everything changed. Humanity was no longer underestimated. Humanity was unstoppable. When intelligence meets courage, when unity meets willpower, and when heart meets strategy, no force, no matter how advanced, can prevail against humanity. The galaxy learned a lesson the hard way. Humans may be underestimated, but they are never, ever defeated. If this story gave you chills, remember what it means to stand with humanity. Like, subscribe, and share this video, so that everyone in the galaxy knows the truth. The human spirit is unbreakable, the human mind unstoppable, and the human heart unmatched.